Good morning, good evening, good night, NBN, Entrepreneurship and Leadership.
Personally, I'm fascinated by the story.
Trust is an underrated weapon in the business landscape.
I'm a really strong believer in learning by doing.
What's the definition of success?
You're trying to come up with an answer to the question. But go ahead, Richard.
You could be right, but you're wrong. Good morning, good evening, good night, Entrepreneurship and Leadership channel listener to the NBN podcast. Today we've got a very special guest with us, Greg Rugg, and we're recording this together with my business partner and co-host Kimon Fontakidis. Greg, could you possibly introduce yourself in the way that you would if you just met someone at a party or a business networking meeting?
Hi guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be there. And for anyone who's in my network, I'm just running some ventures, internet ventures. Actually, quite a few of them. For the past 14 years, I've been running, you might say, Polish Skillshare, which is eduweb.pl, a website with video courses on different technology topics. But apart from that, I run multiple projects around the world and around the web, but all of them technology projects. So I have some info products. I also have a SaaS company and a fintech, and I'm also in education. So this is really interesting for me. So all of those projects I kind of like run myself with co-founders and a small team around us, and all of them I've bootstrapped. So I didn't raise any money. So this is like all me in the projects.
Are you actually would you consider yourself an investor, or are you more hands-on? You're actually like to do like the dirty work yourself.
Yeah, I'm more hands-on, nose down in the project guy who is doing all of the nitty-gritty of the project. But of course, throughout the years, my focus has been shifting. So the beginnings of my career were more about UI and UX and web design, and I've also learned how to code. And then obviously, as I had more and more projects, I tried to outsource as many things as possible, but I tried to stay like on the cutting edge of technologies, so that I can orchestrate all of the elements, all of the bits and pieces of the business. And also oftentimes I just I do it myself, just like for the product. I'm the product guy. I'm really product focused, so I need the product to be really good. And oftentimes it's not easy to make a perfect product when you start up, when you start many projects, and you don't have like a solid team around the project. So founders just have to do everything that have to be done. And this is me.
Interesting. And in terms, I mean, I in a prior conversation, I got the impression that you're doing pretty well financially from EduWeb, and so it might be interesting for people listening to figure out what motivates you. And I think when you say project, I convert that to business. They're actually like, I don't know if they're all business projects, but basically you're running multiple businesses, and you're in a situation where probably you don't have to do that. You're getting enough money from EduWeb to mean that you could just like chill out.
Richard, what you're mentioning a EduWeb? What is that? I don't know what.
Greg mentioned it in his introduction. So EduWeb is like Skillshare in Poland.
Okay.
It's like an online learning platform. You sign up and pay for courses, and it's
so
big.
That's the main thing.
I don't know, Greg. Is in terms of? I mean, I don't know how much personal financial information you want to share. I mean, if you can give us your personal balance sheet, your net wealth, and how much money you make every minute. But like, I'm obviously trying to joke there. What sort of scale is EduWeb in terms of people, or maybe annual revenues or something like that? Could you share that?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I'm an open book. It's pretty big in terms of Poland, but it's pretty small if you count like international projects. So Poland still has this kind of a ceiling for people willing to learn technology, and EduWeb is pretty big. Over the years, it has over 200,000 clients, and every month, like maybe 40 or 50,000 people visit the website and learn. And we have over 2,000 subscriptions. So basically, it's pretty big. But as you might imagine, it's Poland because it's the courses that we do are in Polish. So you have some capacity of the market, and throughout the years I've been making a lot of different decisions about how EduWeb's business would be, going. And the big money, you might say, in the education business is more in the companies like B2B. So, offering courses and trainings to businesses, various sizes, but mostly bigger businesses. But at some point, I just decided not to do it and not to scale this way. So obviously, I probably cut a lot of like income that could come through there. But instead, I decided to fuel motivated people who are willing to change their lives, maybe through technology, and find job in IT, and also to have some passionate people that are giving the knowledge out to the ones that actually listen. Because I discovered that in companies it works like, I don't know if you know benefit card in Poland, but this is just like a perk for an employee, and not necessarily he uses that, and then there's all sorts of a problem. So I don't want to do a product which no one uses or no one wants to use because he's told to. so instead I prefer those technology geeks who basically learn from our courses. And the courses that we do are pretty special in terms that we do them in-house. So we record most of the courses in our studios, and we select people who we know who are really experts in their have a real expertise in their field. So this is not like a Udemy model where anyone comes and creates the course, and there are better and worse courses, and then they cannibalize themselves. What we do is we try to like make, if you want to learn Photoshop, we try to have like one course for Photoshop, which is really great. You can learn Photoshop from here, and not like hundreds of courses for Photoshop, because nowadays those platforms, they become more of a YouTube, thing of instructors trying to sell, with discounted price. We don't do that. So this is pretty much different model.
So it's curated, and Justin, but I was asking about like what motivates you to choose. Like, you make enough money out of EduWeb to mean that you if you didn't want to do anything else, you don't have to do. So why are you setting up all these additional businesses and projects? If you're and like, can you give a sense of the annual revenue of EduWeb? Like, how big is it as a business?
Well, right now I don't have the data on plate, because we are switching our company. Like we've created another company. It's you might say it's in low. It's a few mil in Poland, Polish zlotys. But right now we are integrating different services into EduWeb that previously I was running with different companies. So I have multiple sources of income coming to EduWeb right now. The main income that I mentioned, like few mil, is from the courses and the subscriptions. But now we also integrate the programs in it. So like the programs are basically cohort-based courses that I used to do with my private company, and now I'm just accumulating the income so that I can focus more on different projects, and hopefully this will be more if you count this income from the programs. But you have to take into consideration that the fact that EduWeb is pretty small, like it's a small company, it's only a few people. Because over the years, I didn't want to scale it that much. I wanted this to stay like, independent and focus on professionals and people willing to, learn technology and work in IT. So this is why I decided to not to scale it with people, not to hire a lot. Like I had a lot of people on board, and then I decided to just automate the heck out of EduWeb and create like maybe self-sustaining platform. And to answer your question, why am I picking up these different projects? It's partly because I've automated all of what I wanted to automate out of EduWeb, and it's pretty easy to run this project for me right now. So I have some time to explore and to run some other ventures. But I also believe that this is very true to the EduWeb's nature, because I'm also fueling EduWeb with different content myself. I'm an author, I create courses as well. But then I give the direction where it's heading. I search for people who are willing to create the courses, and for this I need some space so that I can explore different technologies. But this also gives me the opportunity to start new projects. And when you know a lot about different technology, it's hard not to start those projects because you see opportunities everywhere if you have like entrepreneurial personality like myself. So I try to be honest. In EduWeb, I try to fill EduWeb with the most current and the best content out there. So I have to seek some opportunities outside, and this is how I get to know people. This is how I also develop myself. And this is a project that I run for 14 years. So to be honest, there also has to be some space for me to just, breathe.
Experiment,
yeah.
a bit. Yeah, I love the fact that you use the word project for business. For anybody listening, it really project equals business. This is an entrepreneurship podcast, and all these projects that Greg is talking about are actually businesses. I do love the software. I mean, that's like the appealing thing about the software business, because I totally hear what you're saying. You don't even have to have like massive revenue to make a ton of money and to be super profitable. If you, as you said, if you just only have a couple of people working and it's a self-sustaining, fully automated platform. That's always been like, that's the what do you call it, the gold at the end of the rainbow that everybody wants when it comes to software businesses. But Greg, so let's you seem like a young guy, and you've already achieved a lot. Maybe you can just go back in time a little bit and tell us your story. I mean, like, I guess you're Polish. You're living in Warsaw. But maybe just tell us, like, how did you get started? Were you always interested in business? Were you always interested in software when you were young?
Yeah.
And maybe just let's hear the background a little bit.
Yeah, it's closely connected to technologies, and I'm 35 right now. I've been working in IT since I was like a teenager, probably. So I started maybe 14, and this is not unusual right now, but I'm 35. So imagine like pre-YouTube, pre-Facebook, pre-everything. So I basically started out with I played video games like everyone, but then I figured out that I want to, instead of playing, maybe do something for the players. So I made websites, and I started with Flash technology. Then I started to create like simple Flash websites, and working for an agency in Łódź, where I'm from.
Hold on a second, Greg. I'm just really curious, because this is the stuff that we love to try to figure out. Because you're clearly very entrepreneurial, but what are the seeds? So when you said you're making stuff for the other players, was it something that you could sell, or was it just you were being helpful and creating tools and forums? I'm not sure what you were creating, but
at the time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like, a passion of mine. I didn't think of like financially. If you're 15, you don't think much about it. So basically, you do anything that excites you, and that was what I was doing. So for a teenager, it's super easy, right? But pretty early, I started working in high school. I started working for an agency in Łódź, creating different. They were creating websites, and I was helping them, earning like a small money. Really, like they probably took like 100 times than I they did. They paid
100x.
So it was win-win, but they won more than you, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, I won also because I've learned a lot in the process. And then I went to Warsaw, like for studies. I didn't study tech. I wanted to. At first I was like thinking of studying, but there was like I felt that I know how to code. I felt that I know how to make websites, and there was not much to offer for at the time. Right now, it's much more in the universities here in Warsaw. But I went to study law in Warsaw instead, so I finished. Yeah, so I'm a lawyer. Basically, I finished law.
The conservative route. Your parents were happy with that, I'm sure. Because,
probably, yeah. But it was never their dream. To be honest, I was like figuring out what to study, and partly what interests me, like law is pretty broad, and I like the intellectual, discoveries in law. You can I like the arguments, I like the logic. I don't like much I don't like much more about being a lawyer, and I never meant to be a lawyer. And I'm not in this lawyer environment, but in fact I think law is pretty interesting because you can connect it to basically anything. And I was studying, and I was in a banking law, but also new technology. So this was my topic of the studies, and I was actually implementing Polish regulations for internet payments at the time. So it is pretty closely connected to technology. So so that's it. But in the meantime, I started EduWeb on the first year of my studies.
Oh,
probably.
nice.
Yeah. So, and I also had a software house. I was working at the software house first. Then I ran some projects within software house that was growing pretty big. Then it failed during the 2009 crisis because we were mostly working for banks.
So you mean the software house? The software house.
Yeah.
And you were just working there? I mean, you were just an employee, or were you founding? Did you have some equity in that?
Yeah, I had we were launching different businesses together also, because I feel that from the beginning I had this entrepreneurial spark in me, and I didn't want to work there for like a salary. From the start, I said that, okay, I can help, but I want to have some equity in the projects, and I have to be involved. I don't really need to earn a salary. Instead, I just want to help out and do my best. And this has always worked for me like that. I've never worked for anyone else for a fixed salary. So so this is the EduWeb started here, and few of my different other projects started and failed during my studies. And from there, it was only EduWeb. Like, I focused on that platform for maybe 5 or 6 years, and then different projects.
Okay. And you were on your own. Sorry, you were on your own? You were doing that on your own. EduWeb, you were doing. Yeah.
I feel we flip back a couple of times. You mentioned you think you got the entrepreneurial spirit, and just like when you were, if you could try to define what that means, and also rolling back to your teenage years, did you have any kind of role models, I don't know, where your family and business, or did you look around and see what other people's lives were like and think, that I want to be that? Because sometimes people say it's born, sometimes people it's in your genetic makeup, other people say it's the environment, and sometimes it's a reaction against the environment. Your dad is a professor, mum is working for the government, and people say, I do not want to do what they do. So it's sometimes. Could you talk a bit about the influences, and maybe did you have siblings, like brothers or sisters, who were doing different things and you didn't want to be like that?
No, it's just me, and I don't think I look at my mom. She was a teacher, and my dad he was he was a manager, he was managing hotels, and basically I don't think I looked at that at the time, and I don't think there was a single thing that inspired me. But this has to be, I think in my case, this has to be genetic, because as far as I can remember, I've never wanted to work for anyone else. And I started my ventures, even, me saying that I went to work for a software house, but I said, but to be honest, I don't want to work with you, for you. I want to work with you, and I don't care about salary, but this is something that interests me. But at the time, there was not many role models for me, probably not tech-oriented culture in Poland as well. So I didn't have now, everything is out there, and you can go ahead and inspire yourself watching different people and, Twitter. There was nothing like that. I was just reading a lot of books, but those were mostly biographies and not business books, as you say. And I do avoid, like you mentioned, I probably do avoid word business. I don't know why, but it's
it's a dirty word for you. It's a dirty word.
Your parents would discover what you do, and they would be sad. Did they push you in any direction? Did you have a sense of, because quite often, Polish parents can be quite, it sounds like middle class Polish life, right? You weren't rich, but you weren't poor. You were somewhere in the middle.
I had everything.
And that's also, we've got a lot of international listeners and they don't know Poland, and there's a certain class in Poland where people have real hardship. They're not like starving, but it's tight at home.
Yeah.
It's tough. And then there are other people who are like, they're quite comfortable, and sometimes around the world people don't realize like normal life in Poland is kind of okay now. It's not like a struggle. So you weren't like, you don't sound that driven to be like rich. For example, with EduWeb, you could have made more money building a bigger organization, but you didn't want to because you wanted to do other things. So it wasn't like you're driven to have tons and tons of money, but maybe
no, obviously not. No, no. I don't remember myself thinking about money at all, and throughout my career as well. So maybe right now it's more like people have this money-oriented goals, but for me it was always just fun and also hard work. But if you do something really good, then the money comes, and it's
exactly. It's really a scorecard. It's not really it should not be the goal itself. It comes if you've done something successful in your projects.
Yeah.
Then there'll be lots of money coming.
So maybe it's about the. Are you competitive though? Do you play any sports? Do you like, if you play a game, or do you play any board games or physical sports? And how do you feel about winning and losing when you're doing that?
Yeah, I don't think I'm too competitive. I used to do a lot of sports when I was younger, like all my childhood and teenage life was about sport and different ones. I've never focused on like, I want to be the best at football. And I just I was doing everything, probably every sport you can imagine. I was playing like at the good level, but not the professional or not the club level. So yeah, I loved sports and I love training, but basically it was not like about competition and winning them all. So I'm not competitive at all. I don't look at competition. I don't check competition. I think competition is actually for losers if you are outside of sports. But if you're in IT, it's for losers. It's for people who are, just like, I don't know. It can bring only bad feelings for me when I struggle to, just follow someone. I think inspiration is great, but competition is
I
really
think that, Greg,
really...
I think that's really interesting, actually, because what you're saying is you focus on yourself and what you can control, and don't worry about the external environment. Because I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people, I don't know if I would call them losers, because there's a shitload of losers out there. Losers, but,
yeah. Not your problem.
I agree.
But so but I actually know some like even billionaire losers. Let's put it that way. So it's hard to call them losers, but
feel sorry for that.
Exactly. But I do actually agree with you. And I'm always looking for, we mentioned this podcast is we try to inspire people, and we want people who are thinking about getting into business. And I do think this is a really, really good lesson is, look, you can't control what other people do, but you can control what you do. So stop focusing on the external environment, and focus on what you need to do to get better and to do your business better, to make yourself better and all that. And that is interesting. You strike me, and I don't know, I don't want to go too deep into any like psychological whatever stuff, but like you're not competitive, but you're very self-confident. I would say you're very self-confident, because just the idea of like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm not going to work for anybody else.
Yeah.
And again, this might not be something that you can answer, because like if somebody asked me the same question, I'm quite self-confident as well, and I probably wouldn't be able to say. I guess you have to go into your childhood or something like that. But where does it come from? Because it is something. Okay. It's something that I think comes through a little bit here, and I'm wondering, do you have any reflection on that?
Yeah, I like to push myself to some limits that basically I think that are important for me. So it might be, pitching my startup in Silicon Valley. It might be, any other adventure that I tell myself, okay, that would be cool for me. I want to do it. And I just go ahead and, book the ticket and do it, because I want to it's not like the comfort zone thing, but it's something
it is.
That drives.
That's good, pushing. Mm-hmm.
But it drives me. But also I think the confidence just really comes from hard work and knowledge that I gained on the way. So basically, I'm pretty confident because I feel that I know the stuff. So I had this privilege that I've worked in like many different fields in IT. So, I've been a programmer, I've been making websites, but I'm also interested in blockchains, and I ran a few projects. I was a manager, I was managing people, I'm managing people now. I'm doing a lot of marketing and research, and I basically throughout the years I've learned all those things, and I've never focused on one thing like sports, like I mentioned. But so I'm not the best programmer you can find, but I can code everything. Probably it will take me longer, so I'm just willing to outsource it. But I think the confidence partly comes from there. I feel that I've worked hard enough to just get the knowledge, and this is why. And yeah, this is the drive, probably.
So you're like you're a solid generalist.
Yeah, and I do believe in generalists as well.
Yeah,
but obviously, and I think this isn't meant to be like an interrogation, but obviously it can't have always been like that. You do now, but you were quite self-confident when you were 21, saying to the software house, "I don't want to be an employee." So there's something else where and maybe it's just you had great parents, or maybe it's genetic. Again, they just like let you. They didn't make you worry about failure. Because I think one of the things that I notice is that quite often competitive people are quite insecure, and actually it's about they want to win because they don't feel so good about themselves. And entrepreneurs who are successful get very good at handling rejection, because you must know this. I assume not all your projects, your ventures work, and it doesn't knock you down. You know that in order to find out if it's a good idea, the only way to find out is to do it. So were you good at handling rejection, and where did it come from before you knew your stuff?
I think it drove me a little bit if I see that I can't do something, or I can't work on something that would even drive me more to do it. And I think this obviously was improving over the years, but I feel that even in my early days, I had this conclusion that life is too short to just worry about things that you have no influence on. And I was just trying to get the result. I'm very result oriented person, so I think that this helps also. And yeah, it sounds cocky, I know. It's like I don't want to sound cocky. It's but
it doesn't sound cocky to me.
Okay. That's good. It's like I don't know why should I care? If you this is the thing that people often have, the insecurities and stuff like that, but this comes really from focusing on probably wrong factors, like on competition. If I'd focused on competition, I probably haven't started most of my projects, because I would be scared of competition crushing me, or maybe there is already someone in the field. I was just I had an idea and I don't care. It's my approach.
We say in English, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, that's it. But in terms of competition, of course, but the other things you should learn hard. And
I'm going to challenge the listeners. You sound to me like the sort of person, if you wanted to get into something new, suppose you wanted to have you went to a squash club and the booking system was really crap, and you thought I could make a better booking system. Then I think you're the sort of person who would check out the competitive landscape. You wouldn't just plow in. You'd see, because it's a good thing if other people are doing it. Is someone, or would you, or wouldn't you check out?
It depends. Yeah, but the background check would be pretty fast. I am this guy who basically splits everything into small bits and pieces. When I follow a car and there's a company name on a car, I want to check it out and what they do, because maybe it's I want to check out everything, and I see problems everywhere, and that's maybe a curse, but this is entrepreneurial, I guess. And what I would do is I would obviously do a quick background check, because if this gym, for example, is using the booking system that works really well, and all the other gyms use it, it's probably not a great piece of business. So yeah, obviously I'd have this check in place, but I wouldn't obsess about it and go and search for competition and follow them and try to it's not really there are different cultures, and depending on people. Also, I think traveling around the world shaped me a little bit, and I feel that if you are in Poland and you grew up here and you never go anywhere, it's really tough to be entrepreneurial and to be open-minded. when you travel a lot, I used to travel a lot to Asia or Indonesia, and I found people there who were just like giving me like super like really different perspective on, let's say, competition. For them, competition is like the highest and ultimate praise for someone. When someone copies you, that's why there's so many copies of things in Asia and China and stuff like that. But they don't, think of it like, okay, I'm gonna just, rip off the copyrights from the person. They just want to be like them. They just admire the project, so that they want to copy that, and maybe so this is like probably for someone this can be bad. For me, it's really good when someone copies what I do. It's really an honor for me, It's great.
I just thought there's one thing I pick up. You mentioned you see a company on the side of a car and you just check them out, and I think that's really interesting, because that's and just like people listening who are interested in entrepreneurship, like anytime you see a vehicle with a company name on it, there must be someone creating value. And just like, and what do you do? You then like you just quickly go on their website, figure out what they do and whether they're good at it, or what do you do now? I mean, there aren't many people I know who do that. I do it sometimes, not regularly, but sometimes if I'm curious, like what they do.
Yeah,
so
I ask a lot. I ask a lot. Even like at the reception desk, I sometimes I ask, what's the revenue of this hotel? How is it like? It's crazy. People think this is like what are you talking about? But yeah, it's I think when you and if you want to solve problems, because for me it was every time I start a business, I start from a problem. And I want to solve as many problems as possible, and I want to give value. So if you have this kind of mindset, the money is not important, and then you have to ask many questions around. So this is probably this curiosity. You learn it, obviously, because I've never been that guy, from my childhood. But once you have it, you basically seek for an entrepreneurial adventure everywhere and ask many questions. So even for people in Poland, it's really uncomfortable. So for example, if you go to a car wash and you see the owner and ask him for his annual revenue on the car wash, and maybe how many cars do they wash every day and every month, it's pretty weird. You can get bitten or something.
What's the most surprising? Can you give it just an example of like something you discovered that's really surprising? Like, what is the revenue of a car wash? Did you like get some really amazing, surprising information?
Yeah.
But can you give an example or a couple of examples?
Yeah, you can. You can. I found a guy selling mattresses in Poland with a small shop with a crappy website, and I asked him, this website is so crappy. You're not positioning yourself well. It's like it has to be like how much, and he said like 10 millions. It's my revenue. It's, I mean, like I sell 10 millions of mattresses worth in zlotys. It was like the website is crappy, the shop is small, and I don't know why, so I have to dig deeper. I have to like, okay, there's something about this. Maybe this is like a crazy niche that probably it's a gold mine. Maybe this is something, so I need to know the factor, like what drives it, what drives the success.
And what was the answer with the mattress guy? Was it money laundering? The mattresses were full of cash or drugs or something?
No, it was just like a company who's been there for 30 years, and his father sold mattresses, and he's selling mattresses as well.
He has the supplier. I'll give you the answer. He has all the supplier contracts at the big hotels or whatever. He's got the big contracts.
On top of that, he has a few contracts. Yeah. So, but mostly like it was mostly B2C, like maybe 60% of his revenue.
B2C?
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy, but maybe not many mattresses at the time in Poland. It was a few years ago.
Greg, I want to ask something. You mentioned somewhere in the passing. So you were pitching. Did you actually go to Silicon Valley and pitch, or is that still on the list?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What did you pitch? Tell us about that story.
Yeah, I pitched the education project that I think about. I'm still going to do it probably at some point. It's pretty innovative. It's like the university of the future in internet, like because I was always driven by the idea of changing the landscape of education. I really care about that, and this is like deep inside. It's the main thing that I want to do. So Around this, I have many different ideas, and basically, I want to change the landscape with technology. So this is the ultimate goal for me. I feel that technology can fill in many gaps, and that online education might be eventually so much better than offline education, but it's not right now. It's kind of broken, but I don't like to say, it's broken. Okay, it is the way it is.
I think it's broken, and I'm very interested in this because Richard and I have had this conversation ourselves just personally on our walks and stuff like that. I mean, this is a actually very interesting topic for us, and like, well, education in general. But I mean, I think you're absolutely right, and I think there's a massive. I do think the future is going to be different, and I think universities are going to have to adapt or die, because what the current thing is just doesn't make any sense for anybody. I mean, what are we preparing? Yeah. Our kids for? What are we preparing people for? What future are they being prepared for? It's just there's no logic between the two things.
But Greg, you said you never had outside investors, but you were pitching. So was this a project that needed more capital than you could possibly raise yourself? What were you actually offering? And maybe we can do this in the future. I mean, Kim's got a lot of money.
You're talking to two guys who can invest. Yeah, sure. No, I mentioned that because of the challenge that it was like, yeah, I've been to SF. Like I used to go there, not the last year, but every once or so. I used to be invited for different conferences. I used to speak at Adobe Max at the time. So I went to Vegas actually, and then I went to San Francisco to meet some people, just like see how it is. Now it's obviously a bit different than it used to be, but I've been there like to just, I felt that I want to see the thing, and I felt that I've bootstrapped a lot, and there is no challenge in bootstrapping for me anymore. So okay, maybe let's tackle the different side and see how could you, like, possibly, is it possible to get some money from VCs? No, it was not like something that I had a business plan and I'm willing to commit, and it was just a challenge. I wanted to challenge myself because basically no one I knew did it, and in Poland, so I just said, okay, why not?
So did you get any meetings? Did you actually meet any VCs?
Yeah, I have. I had like I think that a lot of money on the table at the time, with only like 6 or 7 meetings probably. So, but yeah, I also know that it's not like working this. It's not that easy, There were things that I was just like experimenting. That was one thing. The other thing, I really want to do it, but I didn't want to like commit for the, I didn't want to go to live in San Francisco at the time. And it was like, just experimenting. So more of a challenge, but I still want to do it. And whether I'm going to bootstrap it or I'm going to just raise some money, and probably for the project, like the scale that I want to do is it would involve just fundraising at some point. And and the idea is still the same. It's changing the landscape through technology. We agreed it's somehow broken, and like you mentioned, universities of today won't be universities tomorrow. They will just provide maybe credentials. But then I'm a strong believer in Web3 and blockchain and in all the like new technologies around it. So I'm a fair believer in creating like a disruptive university that would be self-sustaining, based on like tokenized, where everyone gets to get the shares. And so the main, like, there are many problems, but I think at least around me, one big problem of education is that people are underpaid, and they are basically the university workers who try to teach people stuff, but they don't really know much about that stuff. So it's pretty easy to fix that, right? So you get the best people out there, like the outliers of technology. You give them. Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, one of the biggest issues is accessibility to education, and there's, at least from an American perspective, there's a massive inequity. It's really, you have to have money to get educated ultimately, and that just doesn't have to be the case. You can really, you say you go to Harvard and the students who are the best students, but if you opened it up to the world, who would the best students be? they wouldn't be those people.
Yeah.
They'd be other people.
Yeah.
So, but that's that. I think there's a big inequity to as well. There's a lot of aspects of it, but I'm with you on the it's a fascinating subject. It's a big, huge, massive of a thing, but no. Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, anyway, I'll just say, put a marker in now that I'm very interested in this space, and obviously you don't do a deal on a podcast, but I'll certainly follow up and see, and even if it's just like, because in the TED world, TED and TEDx world, there's a lot of educate, and I teach in some business schools and stuff, but I wanted to jump onto a different topic, which is, you mentioned automation. That's how we first met, because you were introduced to Magda to give her some mentoring advice about how to set up her organization. And she said, oh, this is Guy, and he's saying I should automate everything. And Keeman, I'm fully in favor of automation. Some of my businesses, we sell automation technologies, but physical automation. Keeman's always been obsessive about, like, if there's a process that can be automated within his business, try to make things as efficient as possible. So can you, and like, rather than just describing what you do, which I'd like you to as well, can you also say why it's so important? Because not everyone out there really gets why automation matters so much. And so firstly, why is automation so important? And then a bit about what you're doing in the automation space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it is extremely important. It's the next big thing in terms of all the like internet companies first, but all the other companies first. And you don't have to overthink it like too much to just picture, like envision the future like in 10 years. When you close your eyes, you see all of the like robots right now, Elon Musk presenting the humanoids and all the processes being automated. Like the code is now being written, like GitHub has the project where you can basically code by just saying, okay, I want to have this app that does X and Y. So basically, it's not hard to imagine that in 5 or 10 years, the tech landscape will be so much different than what we see right now. And this will be thanks to automation and due automation. This will all happen with automation. So all the modern companies will have to adapt automation, and I am obviously a good example of that, because I've automated most of the things, and it enabled me to basically right now do different projects at a time, because I have automation frameworks for everything, started from customer service, billing, and sales and stuff like that. I can automate that, and it runs on robots mainly. But then if you think of the regular businesses, they will have to follow this path as well, because ultimately the competition will, and they will crush them, because it's so much leverage in automating the processes that are manual labor, and the leverage will drive the technology forward. The leverage will drive companies forward, but the ones that are lagging behind will be in a really difficult position. So that's why I think it's important, because you don't want to basically, I used to always say that you don't want to compete with someone who loves what he does, because it's pretty hard. It's hard as hell. If you don't love what you do, you better do, because when someone does, it's a competition that will crush you. So now I used to say you don't want to compete with someone who automates their business, because it's the leverage that it's like love to the business. And I used to automate a lot for the past 2 or 3 years. I've automated like hundreds of processes around different aspects of internet businesses. And I found it really fascinating. It's not the typical approach that people know, the RPA. This sounds like the old school 90s, and all the big companies that they
maybe
do it.
Can you explain what robotic process automation means?
For me, I'll give you my definition, because you might have beautiful pictures of this around, and in practice is basically a company who has a lot of consultants, and they go to different companies. They ghost people for like 2 or 3 months so that they can get to know the processes. Then they write custom software to handle these processes. So this and then so first they have to get to know the processes. It's 3 months or 5 months or half a year. Then for a year or two, they write custom software, and then company has to maintain the software and pay like huge amounts of money for like having this automation in place. When they want to change it, it's super difficult. That's RPA for me. Maybe, okay, I'm not the best, like, you know, a lot of people would disagree, but this is how I feel it. To the contrary, you have really, like, from my perspective, modern approach to automation, which is all the no-code tools and all the automation software that basically runs on the idea of API, which simple words is that you have this API first approach to designing software nowadays. So when you create software like we have right now, like Zoom, okay? Zoom basically has the API that would allow you to programmatically call the endpoints, call Zoom and say, okay, Zoom, I want to create a meeting in a week at this and that time, and you can do it programmatically. It means that your robot can also do it. You don't have to manually type in the interface. And this is thanks to their API. So Zoom has an API with different endpoints which you can call, and you can basically do everything with Zoom without even having to go to Zoom's website, okay? And if you can do it programmatically, then your robots can do it as well. And this is the API approach. So all of great software out there, they do have an API. And my approach to automation is to utilize those APIs so that we don't have to write another software on, you know, for sending emails, for conferencing, for any task at hand. You can just use the best software out there for sending emails. You can use MailChimp, you can use SendGrid, you can use all the others, Mailgun, all the other services that have this API. And basically what you do is you connect this to the data that you have, and you can orchestrate a modern approach to automation would be to automate all of the things that people would otherwise do on the UI of the websites. Like if you want to send an email to your audience, what you're gonna do? You go to MailChimp, you sign in, you forget your password, and whatever. Then you just you have to select the audience, you have to write an email. So I'm not doing any of that. My robots will automatically generate the email based on the content that I put on my website. So for example, in the process of launching the courses on AdWeb, then we'll take some bits and pieces of the information that are the description of the course, and we'll create every piece of content that we want out of that. So we'll automatically generate images that are YouTube covers and social media images. Then from the description of the course, we'll generate social media content like announcements and stuff like that. And then another robot will automatically schedule that for the particular time. And I'm just click the launch button and it goes everywhere. Okay, so this is my approach to automation. I think that it's like so much better than writing your custom software, because RPA is just custom software. Of course, they use software like UiPath, and those are big companies. But ultimately, this is a lot of like manual work to create that. And in future, I think that it will be all like the meta automation will happen, and you would be able to just create an automation on top of automations, so that you have one bot manager that will manage all of the different bots that create.
So basically, your robots are like your minions, in Despicable Me.
Yeah.
You're like Gru.
Yeah.
You're like Gru.
Yeah.
Your minions, right?
I haven't looked like it, bro. Yeah, but those are actually there's a guy I give a shout out to Jill, and he's great guy who made this PDF book, Maker Minions, and this is exactly that. This is like 100 ideas for automations, from like scheduling your meetings, running a paid promotion on Facebook and stuff like that. And he did it on top of Zapier. I think he used Zapier or maybe Integromat. Integromat is the software I use a lot. I think it's highly underrated and undervalued. If you want to like invest in something, go ahead. And I think it's been bought. Saloni is actually a big company from Germany, bought Integromat. But still, I think it's like it will be huge in few years. And I'm focusing closely on Integromat, but also different software as well we use in automations.
Yeah, I just bring it back to the entrepreneur stuff. I think this is the essence. I mean, obviously that's, if you're not technical, but you don't, the essence is still there. It's how to be more efficient, how to do more with less. I mean, that's just the fundamental sort of spirit and essence of what you have to be an entrepreneur. And obviously taking that, and then, having the tech background, basically you're combining multiple things. I mean, that's what's so interesting about entrepreneurship. And I really like when you called yourself a generalist, because I actually feel sort of like I'm kind of useless. Like if I'm supposed to be like the best, I can't really do any one thing particularly well, but I can do a lot of different things. And I think if you're running a company, or if you're creating something, it's having that broad background. And I have to believe that broad background helps you with identifying, let's say, all these efficiency and all these automation spots. Because if you're deep in the weeds programming something, you don't see the big picture and how all the pieces go together, I think.
Yeah, I think you did a great job of explaining the sort of the big picture, and just for people who, this idea that don't compete with people who love what they do and don't compete with people who automate what they do. Obviously, you get two people automating. I think there's a great example. I remember coming across someone who had a little Allegro shop. Allegro is the kind of eBay of Poland, and they'd got this was a long time ago. They had a dedicated computer that was plugged into the internet. It had a printer connected. In the printer there was sheets of paper that had an address label as well as an invoice. And anytime they got an order, it basically produced all the documents they needed to ship. And just compared to getting and if they didn't have that, they'd have to get the email, copy paste to a labeling thing, print the label, and it wasn't like 20% faster. It was 100 times faster, 1,000. Literally took them. I mean, it's almost infinitely faster because it took them no work, as opposed to 5 minutes is a big deal when you scale that across an organization. So can you? I mean, can you talk about your automatizacja.pl, your automation.pl idea, and is that working? I mean, it's because I thought that's a really ambitious idea, but will it? I'm being honest now. I thought, can he really train people to be these automation consultants so they get paid and he can pay them? Because it seemed like it's a great idea, but it's always tested by reality. And is it working?
Yeah, I mean, it's at the very beginnings still, but hell yeah, I can make a next Accenture out of it, because it's or kick them out of the business, because it's
Accenture is one of the biggest consulting companies in the world, so you heard it here first, maybe.
I mean, it's like the idea for Zautomatyzowanie. Actually, it's a brand that will do as Automatify.io internationally pretty soon. But the idea here is to teach people automation. So like throughout the years, I've learned a lot about automation. I was like the guy digging this whole thing up. I did a lot of no code, and this is game changing. As I mentioned, it will enable people to just create businesses without technical knowledge. Now only 0.3% of people in the world can code, but it will change in 2 or 3 years. In 2 years, you'll be able to say, okay, I want to build an app that does X and Y, and through the voice interface, there will be AI below that will create an app for you, and that's it. It won't be difficult anymore. So all the creative people who has the ideas and want to just test out the ideas will be enabled to do it thanks to automation and no code. So I think it's pretty big. I know, and I know that for sure because I've automated a lot of this internet business that I have, and I have a lot of frameworks and automation blueprints that I run. So I decided to, and I was pretty excited about that, telling this to different people from different companies, and they were always like, holy shit, can you do it for me? It's so great. Can you automate my stuff? And at one point I said, okay, why not? Why don't we have this agency business, you might say, but I'm calling it automation house, like software house, but it's automation house, where you can get the software so much faster. And you don't have to the software business has a lot of issues right now. For example, for people starting out when they want to launch their startups, but also for bigger companies, there's a lot of problems. Basically, creating a simple MVP of an app is like super expensive. It takes a lot of time, and I think the world will fix thanks to automation and this no code stuff. So So that was the beginning of this project, and now I'm at the stage when I'm trying to train people because most of the time when I try to, it's a groundbreaking technology. No one knows it. Basically, I don't have any people who could work for me, so that I can post a job, offer, and then people will come, and they don't know the stuff. It's like super early. So I decided to teach them, and I have a pretty big following in Poland. So I'm also putting the stuff out, showcasing the automations, so that from there I get the recognition, and probably a lot of clients that they ask us a lot about automating their stuff. And now I need people to work for me, so I just create a program that will teach them everything about automation. Last year I had over 600 people on my different programs. From those people, I'm creating a community, and this community is basically people who know the stuff. I can source my agency business, like consulting business, from those, and and now we're gonna just make it even more like organized, and we already have few big clients, one of them being Allegro. Actually, you mentioned Allegro, so we automate stuff for them. They're a stock company now, and I see a huge potential in that, because like people really need this for their companies, but the problem I found is there is no people that I can hire, so I have to train them. And and the organization that I'm going to create is pretty like unusual, because I wanted to do it like headless. I don't have that much skill in managing people, so I wanted to do it like differently. So I'm thinking about some kind of like a franchise model and headless agency where I get the contracts, but then I have a lot of automation blueprints and all the knowledge and programs and community that will fuel the company underneath. And that's the idea for now, for now at least.
And just because it's a very inspiring idea, because you're creating, and it'd be very hard to compete with, because if you've got the know-how of how to train people and competitors, people who want to compete with you don't, then it's going to be hard. And everything can be copied, but it's going to be quite hard to copy. But what stage are you at? You've trained and those 600 people all paid the 5,000 zloty to do the course, and now how many of them have got revenue as a result? Because your idea was you can make the money back after you're trained, right? I remember that on your website.
This is quite new. Actually, this is for the program that launches this month, and for this program we have 100 people that will just learn how to like ins and outs of automations in 10 weeks. Probably in 10 weeks from a person that knows like nothing about this, you can be our employee, and you can earn quite substantial amount of money comparing to like tech and even tech industry. So basically this is like this is compelling offer, and we're gonna probably we are doing this for the first time in this model. On top of this 100 people who basically paid us for the program, we're gonna open the program for people who will just will offer the program for free, but then they will have to just work for us for the fixed amount for the fixed period of time. And the obviously we have some tests, we have some homeworks for them, and they have to do well in all of that to be able to get the job. But this is how I want to fuel the next generation of employees for our automation agency, and this is already happening. So you asked how is it going? So I have the community of over 2,000 people right now, and we also have 3 people hired in the agency. Like it's pretty small, but we have a few clients. Those are big companies, and maybe 10 or 15 other smaller clients. But this is the stage that we used to learn. So we also do, because it's me and Adam, we are partners in this automation house, and basically this is all also learning for us. So we go to companies with Adam and we try to automate the stuff ourselves at first, so that we can learn and probably in most companies you have the same processes. You have to sell the product, you have to market the product. So this is all the same, but everyone is doing that differently, and there's no point in that. You can create automations that are pretty much universal and they handle the stuff pretty well. So we are doing the packages right now. So we're creating the packages like the sales packages. And if you are in like maybe an insurance agency, and then we go to you and we automate everything that will help you in your work, then we create a package out of this. And what we do is we give out this package to our future employees after the program, and they will go and automate every single insurance agency in Poland, around the world, and stuff like that. So that's the idea.
This idea, a friend of mine, he went to a boot camp in San Francisco, and he never knew how to program or develop or anything like that. And they have these very intense. It was very expensive, but it was very intense. But it was what reminded me of it is when you said like it was, and like I think one of the marketing lines was like, we're guaranteeing you, if you can complete this, like a 6-figure salary. And it was true. He ended up getting a job at Tesla, but it was very hard to go through. It was boot camp, so it was like 18 hours a day for, I don't know, like 4 months or something like that. He had to do like this intense thing. But just the idea of, we can give you a profession, and we can give you a high-paid profession or a well-paid profession, whatever you want to call it. I think that's a very compelling. If you can do it, if you can do it, I think that's a really compelling thing. So I'd like to ask, just like shift it around a little bit, and I know I'm a little bit conscious of the time. Or would you consider yourself a rule breaker? Do you follow the rules?
No, you'd have to know the rules first to follow them. I'm just ignorant probably, but I don't know. It's.
Or were you a rule breaker? Or let me ask a different question. Were you a rule? Okay, let me ask an even different question. When the red light stops that says don't walk and there's no cars coming, do you stand with the herd of people or do you go across the street?
It's more English attitude here. In England, they can go. but in general, I just I think I don't care. I'm not breaking anything on purpose. I just don't care. It's like when I figure out that something has to be done and there is value, like the very core of everything I do is value. So once you have that in place, I believe that no rules can stop you, because it's being honest with yourself and everyone else. So if you give out value to people like I do with the automation program, I don't cheat, I don't lie to them. They will get the job, and this will be and this is disruptive because they can land a tech job. This also came from my experience on EduWeb. So I discovered we have a lot of people learning in our paths, okay? And I have a lot of data on how they do, on how fast they acquire the knowledge and stuff like this. So it's pretty quick that you can discover that people, like most of them, won't be programmers, won't be developers. It's not meant to, they want to because they've heard that, there is like,
but it's not in their ability. They're not in their skill set or abilities.
No. And what you can offer them instead, I wonder, okay, what I can give them instead, because there's a lot of, things you can do in tech, but not necessarily to be, coding all day long. And this is no code. This is no code and automation. So this is like the solution for all the problems, because they can be developers, but they don't have to write code themselves. And this was like partly driven by the need that I had to like address those people, to give them an opportunity to also work in IT and learn from EduWeb. So yeah, that's also something that drove me.
Just thinking, what haven't we covered? Yeah, as Keeman mentioned, we're coming to the end of our time. So, any idea where you're going to be in 5 or 10 years' time? And also, is there anything that went badly wrong in your life? Because, like, at one level, someone listening to this, shit, this guy Greg, everything went perfectly for him. He's having fun, he's making money, he's doing what he wants to do. Were there any like bad things that happened to you that you had to overcome, or has your life been like always kind of just exactly as you wanted it?
You know, it's not that they haven't happened. There's a lot of like things that went wrong, but I don't focus on remembering them. I've probably learned a lot on the way, by some mistakes I made, but there's nothing that is hurting me. I think that, for example, I made this AdWeb business. It's pretty rough to do a business in Poland, especially like maybe 8 years ago, or it's like it's pretty rough because people they are in Poland they are honest, like really honest. The way you don't want them to be honest. Like I got a shitload of when something went wrong, we were meant to be live and something broke. The technology, the live technology is still not ready. But 10 years ago, we were doing lives and boot camps and stuff like that. So cohort-based courses, we were doing everything like that. So when something went wrong, we had like a shitload of comments, hate and stuff like that. So I think that it kind of shaped me. I learned to overcome this. When you get the specific amount of this, you just don't care that much anymore. So I don't think that there were plenty of things that went wrong, but I turned them into something that's it's learning, it's shaping me, and it's okay. It's okay to be wrong. It's when you try, you're going to be wrong. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. And for the future, obviously you got these. And like this automation thing could be really. And you mentioned you could put a center out of business, and like I think the ambition to do it without scaling your organization might be a little unrealistic. But maybe you can. But like if you're ready to have quite a few employees and like hire professional, hire ex-Accenture guys who've got the relationships with the big global company. I mean that is a track you could take, but that might get in the way of disrupting the world of university education. Like, so how are you going to make your mind up, or where are you going to be in 5 or 10 years? Do you have any idea?
No idea. It's I'm in the place right now where I'm having fun with what I do, and I decided like a few years ago that I won't do like anything that doesn't bring fun. And obviously it's like a cliche. It's like something that obviously I have to do many different things that are not as fun as I'd expect them to be, with all connected with running the companies and stuff like that. But basically I try to focus on the things that really, really are fun for me. I try to have like the list of things that will bring me joy and neglect all the other things. So I try to be in a very good and happy place for me today, and I'm not picturing myself in 5 years. Although I have like a big, bold goals that would be cool to execute on. So this is something that drives me. But in 5 years, this can be so much different. So for now, I'm running 12 different projects at a time. So it's only me and robots and some co-founders and a bunch of people who are crazy enough to help me. And we are running like 12 projects, and they are all profitable businesses. Okay, so they are all profitable, and they are really cool. And I love, like, right now I love exploring new things. So I'm in blockchain right now, and I'm thinking of, okay, how can we make this Web3 environment with the education project. So I'm learning a lot, and I'm trying to do what really excites me, because this is a huge leverage, like automation and loving what you do, like two things, if you combine them together, okay, that's checkmate. So basically now I'm at the point of my business life and work life is I have a lot of things going on, because I don't want to miss an opportunity. But once I see that something has this like hockey stick growth, one of my projects, because I plant many seeds, I might be going that way. So like leave everything else, focus on that entirely, and just execute on that. Maybe raise some money, because that's a challenge for me that I haven't done in my life. So probably that's something that will interest me.
It's on the list.
Well. Yeah, that I'm hungry. I'm still I feel that I still can do like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 projects. It's something that really excites me. I start small projects right now, like every 3 months or so. I start a new project. Right now, we started like just yesterday, we started easycard.pl. That is checkout, one-click checkout based on Stripe with subscription. It's for Poland right now. It's for creator economy in Poland. And that might be the next thing that I'll focus on if I see that, that there is a huge potential there, and it probably is. So basically now I'm spread around different things, but in 5 years I might be doing just, the next version of the Stanford online, and that would be it.
Yeah. So before we wrap it, please do send us a list of all those those 15 businesses. Just we'll put it in the show notes, because I'm sure some people are going to be curious. And if there are any other, my data came from a couple of websites in your LinkedIn, but if there are other places people could go to find out more about what you do, just send me a one-pager and we'll help put that into the show notes.
Sure.
It's been a really interesting and unusual conversation. I think that possibly for those listening, they might figure out maybe in 5 or 10 years' time, Grzegorz Rug? Rog or Rug? Rug.
Rug. It's in Polish. It's Rug, but it's impossible to pronounce. But you're doing quite well. But
we speak Polish, by the way. And also, is your automation business available in English yet? The new one, or are you just focusing on Poland for now?
Not yet. So I'm doing that in Poland right now. But once I do it, once I launch the program in Poland and it's successful, and I learn a lot on the way, I'm going to translate it. And I'm already translating a lot of materials into English, so that I'm going to, like, in the next half year probably run this on automatify.io. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to run a program as well. And now for the automation house, we also have a few clients from abroad, so we're not focusing on Poland.
Great. Well, it's been fascinating. I'd like to thank you personally. I think it's really, thank you for sharing your vision. I think our listeners will be quite curious and inspired and want to follow what you're up to. And I'll just hand over to Kimon to make any closing remarks and thank everyone.
Well, you did say one thing. Sorry, there was one nugget in there that I think is important again for entrepreneurship, and it's about short-term memory. And it works both ways. You said you don't focus, you don't remember your failures or the things that went wrong. But I bet you, at least in my case, I also don't really focus too much on my successes either. It's basically I'm focusing on now and the future, and I get the sense it's the same with you. And also, if somebody were to ask me, what are you going to do in 5 or 10 years or whatever? Yeah, you can give some bold whatever comments. But the truth is, you're just, I mean, not many of us have these long, Elon Musk clearly has like get to Mars, whatever, do like all this stuff. He's got these big plans, but most of us are not like operating like on that scale of planning. Yeah. And so you're just you're being opportunistic, you're looking for your best opportunities, and then you're going to move based on what the landscape is. You're going to be nimble, because that's what you are. Is you're nimble, you're able to adjust to whatever's coming at you. So I think I thought that was an interesting thing, and that people should know when they think about it. Because I think that holds people back big time. Is they think, oh my God, I screwed it up, or they're like, oh, I'm freaking awesome. I'm awesome. I'm the best because I did something. And both of those things are. Both of those things are wrong. Just
be in the middle. Yeah, just be in the middle. There is like, you can have, but it happens to everyone. You can have 100 positive like comments and then 1 negative, and then you're going to
and then they collapse. Yeah. Anyway, let me start the wrap up here. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time. It's been an hour plus listening. I think it's been fascinating. Definitely a good listen today. Thank my daughter, Magda Fantakita. She does the graphic design and the video editing for this. And we have an intern, super intern, I like to call her, Magda Buis.
Who you met Magda.
All right, and you know Magda. Oh, yeah. So she's a super intern. She works for Richard.
She's great. She's great.
I don't even know how, I keep calling her 17. She may have turned 18 by now. So whatever. She's very young, and she's she's got a bright and up-and-coming future. Obviously, everybody at MBN they produce all this. They make the sound, the glitches, and all the things come out, so it sounds really nice when it comes out in podcast format. And so if you liked it, please subscribe at MBN, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. comment, share, like, love. And Grzegorz, Greg, thank you so much for joining. I was fascinated to hear about you, and most importantly, your minions. You and your minions are going to take over the world. So thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a blast. Thank you.